Welcome back. In this episode, we're going to be deep diving into the world of Jaws collectibles. We're going to be covering over 50 years of terror on our toy shelves, as I'll be talking about everything from the vintage 1975 Ideal board game, the reaction figures, and for the first time ever, I'll even be talking about the only Funko Pops I have in my collection. In 1975, Steven Spielberg made us all afraid to go into the water. But for toy collectors, the real terror is some of the prices this Jaws merchandise is on the secondary market. Hello there, I'm Retro Roy and welcome to my YouTube channel, where I'll be posting short, bite-sized videos of vintage action figures and collectibles from my modest collection. I'll take viewers on a journey of discovery as I break down several different action figure lines, one figure, ship, creature, and playset at a time. I hope you enjoy the video, I hope you have fun, and I hope you learn something. So let's get started. Now, before we get started, let's get personal. Jaws just happens to be my favorite non-Star Wars movie. Just the same that A New Hope and Empire are essentially comfort food for me, Jaws has always been in my life. I remember going through all the emotions as a much too young child watching this movie. The exhilaration of the exciting moments, the humor in the funny moments, and of course, the terror in the scary moments. This movie scared the pants off of me as a young boy, so much so I was too scared to sometimes even take a bath or swim in a friend's pool. I don't recall exactly the first time I saw Jaws. It was absolutely on home video. I do know the original beta and VHS tapes were released in around 1980 or 81, and that would have put me right at 5 or 6 years old for my first viewing, which seems about right. I've watched Jaws so many times, the only two movies I've watched more would be, again, A New Hope and Empire. I feel that Jaws is the perfect movie. It's a roller coaster of emotions with excellent performances from everyone involved. It's one of the few movies I double dip on, meaning I own copies on different formats. Here you see the VHS, several DVDs, the Jaws Laserdisc, which was the first movie released in this format, and several different Blu-rays. So to begin, just in case one or two of you haven't seen the movie, let's talk briefly about it. Based on a book written by Peter Benchley, of which I have a first edition as well as many paperback copies. A quick side note about the book, I've read it multiple times, but there are things I'm not fond of in the book. Spoilers ahead. Hooper and Ellen Brody have an affair, the shark dies differently, Hooper dies, and there's a subplot involving Mayor Vaughn and the mob. But it inspired the movie, so it's worth checking out if you haven't read it. Jaws the movie was released on Friday, June 20th, 1975 in 464 theaters across the US and Canada, and quickly expanded to over 950 theaters by that August, on its way to becoming the biggest movie of all time, and as everybody knows, it created the modern movie blockbuster. The movie stars Roy Scheider as Chief Martin Brody, Richard Dreyfuss as Matt Hooper, and the incredible Robert Shaw as the shark hunter Quint. All three are tasked with setting their differences aside and working together to catch a massive great white shark that is terrorizing the shoreline of a small fictional town named Amity. Jaws was nominated for 4 Academy Awards, ultimately winning 3 for film editing, best sound, and finally original score for the legendary John Williams soundtrack. It was nominated for Best Picture but lost to One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which, to be honest, I've never seen. I'm going to take the easy way out and say if you want to deep dive into the famously troubled production of the movie, as well as its cultural impact, there are several fantastic documentaries right here on YouTube for you to watch. And lastly, eagle-eyed viewers might have noticed that I'm sporting Quint's hat, as created by Stockbridge Sewing, and the Jaws watch, which is the Ulsta Nautoscaf super automatic dive watch worn by Hooper in the movie. This one is number 1845 out of 1975. So for anyone doubting me, there's my Jaws nerd cred. Now, on to the action figures. First up, let's talk about the Funko Reaction Jaws line. Released in 2015, these were a collaboration with Super 7 to give us what the figures would have been if they were released in 1975. I'm not usually a fan of much that Funko does, especially their Funko Pop line, but Jaws action figures themselves are few and far between, so I have to make an exception. This short Jaws reaction line only consists of 3 action figures. We got Brody, Quint, and Hooper in all their glory. What I do like about the figures is that they are 5 points of articulation, just like the vintage Star Wars figures. You get movement at the head, shoulders, and hips. The figures have basic but movie-accurate paint dabs. As far as sculpting goes, I feel the sculpting on these figures are excellent. These figures are instantly recognizable to their movie counterparts, with some nice sculpting work on the bodies to simulate clothes. The cards are simple enough, but striking at the same time with the famous Roger Castell Jaws poster art on the front. The back of the cards are all generic with a pic of each of the figures as well as the star of the show, Bruce the Shark. As far as the figure's accessories goes, Hooper is packed with a pair of binoculars, Brody is packed with his service revolver and M1 Garand, and Quint is packed with his harpoon gun. There are no variants as far as I know regarding the Quint, Brody, and Hooper figures, but if I'm wrong about that, leave a comment below. This shark measures 10 inches from nose to tail and has one point of articulation, the mouth opens and closes. The packaging is nice with a clear panel in the front to see the beast, and the back of the box has a cross-sell for the rest of the Jaws line. Unlike Brody, Quint, and Hooper, there's a pretty famous variant of the shark. There's a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive where the shark has blood splatter and comes with a Quint in his mouth. As far as availability and pricing goes, the Reaction Jaws line commands some pretty hefty prices on the secondary market, with whole sets going for hundreds of dollars. Let's just say that I'm glad I got these for retail prices when they got first released. As previously discussed, I'm not a fan of the Funko Pops. They were never on my radar until 2019 when I saw that Brody, Quint, Hooper, and Bruce were coming out. So what's a guy to do? Well, he asked his wonderful wife to get them for me as a birthday gift. I'll briefly touch on these, as there isn't much to say about the Pops. They bear a passing resemblance to the movie characters, and like most Pops, have 0 points of articulation, making them more statues than figures. Credit where credit is due, the packaging is actually pretty nice. The figures come in the regular Pop boxes with a display window in the front to display the little statue. If nothing else, they don't look bad in my Jaws cabinets. As far as variants go, the shark is available with or without an oxygen tank in his mouth. Now, let's switch gears quickly and speak about another manufacturer that released Jaws collectibles with no articulation, McFarlane Toys. The McFarlane Jaws Deluxe box set was released in 2001 as part of Series 4 of the McFarlane Movie Maniacs line. This diorama depicts the exciting climax of the movie where Quint and Bruce get up close and personal with each other. Tiny Quint is an accurate enough sculpt and even breaks in half in a nice touch. Bruce is part of the diorama and has 0 points of articulation. This is actually one of my favorite Jaws collectibles, and I've had it in my collection since I bought it new in 2001. The paintwork is nice enough with a type of dry brushing done on the waves to simulate heavy chop. The barrels are removable and the orca is nicely detailed. This is a good-sized diorama measuring in at almost 18 inches by 6 inches. This collectible will command a shelf of its own. If you're in the market for one of these, be prepared. It is very common to see loose, complete versions, such as mine, go for hundreds of dollars, with complete in-box version going for even hundreds more. If you want movie realism, Nika puts the reaction figures to shame in all aspects except one. I'll explain that in a moment. Nika has created exceptionally wonderful figures of Quint and Hooper here. As you see, Quint is packed with a pile of accessories, including 3 sets of hands, 4 Narragansett beer cans, harpoon gun, bat, rifle, machete, bandana, and a removable hat. Quint comes with movie-accurate cloth clothing and stands at approximately 8 inches tall. Anyone who's familiar with the figures that Nika produces will note that the packaging, while nice, is standard Nika fare. You get nice, colorful art in the front, with the sides having the movie title on them. The back of Quint's packaging has the figure in many different poses, showing off the articulation. Speaking of articulation, Quint features ball-jointed head, hinged shoulders and elbows, waist rotation, thigh swivels, knee joints, and ankle mobility to allow for whatever shark hunting pose you can imagine. I consider Quint's paint and sculpt to be excellent. I also think that the sculpts on the next 2 figures are awesome as well. Matt Hooper comes in 2 different variants, Shark Cage Hooper and Amity Arrival Hooper. Both are excellent representation of a young Richard Dreyfuss. The Amity Arrival Hooper comes draped head to toe in denim and comes with a different head, 2 hats, his brown duffel bag, 2 cups so you can recreate the famous can versus styrofoam scene on the orca. The Shark Cage Hooper comes dressed in his 2-tone black and blue US Divers Sea Devil 2 brand wetsuit. Again, this figure has an excellent sculpt of Richard Dreyfuss. As far as the accessories go, Shark Cage Hooper comes with the famous shark dart, a knife. I'll count his flippers as his accessory, the flashlight he drops after searching the hull of Ben Gardner's boat, as well as an extra head. The packaging for both Hoopers is very similar, as is the articulation. At the beginning of this segment, I said that NECA has reaction beat on almost every level except one. The one area that the 3 3/4 inch reaction figures beats the NECA figures, in my opinion, is the fact that reaction was able to make a Chief Brody figure. Now, don't get me wrong, the NECA figures really are great, but I am tremendously disappointed that NECA was so close to getting a Chief Brody figure into collectors' hands, but ultimately failing. From what I understand, I'm not entirely sure about this. Right before the Chief Brody figure was to go into production, there was an issue with the rights to Roy Scheider's likeness that prevented them from going any further. In my opinion, the NECA Jaws line will forever be incomplete until all 3 figures are on my shelf. Sticking in the NECA department, let's go from incredibly accurate to cartoony. The NECA Jaws Toonie Terror 2-pack, released in 2021 as part of their Toonie Terror line, NECA brought us cartoon versions of Quint and Bruce the Shark. This version of Quint comes with a harpoon and machete, while Bruce doesn't come with any accessories unless you count his separate dorsal fin. As far as articulation goes, Bruce has 0 points of articulation, while Quint has 7. He has ball-jointed head and articulation at the wrists, shoulders, and ankles. I am a fan of the animated style of Quint, which borders on caricature, and I find the sculpting on the shark to be adequate for what it is. Paint is basic all around and simple, matching the cartoon style that NECA was going for. The packaging is actually quite nice, with a large window box in the front and attractive yet simple designs on the back and sides. It does display well enough in my cabinet. Now, I do have one more NECA Jaws product that I'll talk about in the next segment, which is about Jaws games. Okay guys, it's hot take time. My hot take is Jaws on the NES is a good game. There, I said it. So, hear me out. Growing up, it was one of the NES games that we owned, and it was one of the first NES games that I beat. I think why this game has such a bad reputation is because it's named Jaws, when in reality it should be named Jaws the Revenge. This game is very faithful to the movie Jaws Revenge and was published by LJN in November of 1987, just a few short months after Jaws the Revenge's theatrical release. While the game was published by LJN, it's one of the several LJN published games actually produced by the Japanese company Atlas, who in turn subcontracted a company called Westone to make it. You play as a diver collecting conch shells, very similar to what Michael Rhodey, played by Lance Guest, is doing in the movie. There is a bonus level where you pilot a plane very similar to the plane that Michael Caine flies in the movie. You get to pilot a little yellow sub, just like in the movie. Most of the game, you're out sailing a ship that is very similar to the one that Ellen Brody sails at the end of the movie, and the shark dies by getting stabbed by the boat, just like in the movie. As far as movie accuracy goes, this one's certainly miles better than some of the movie games on the NES because it's based on Jaws the Revenge, not Jaws. There's no Brody, no Quint, no Hooper, no Orca, nothing from the first movie. So people picking up this game, named Jaws, hoping for it to be based on the Steven Spielberg classic, were sadly disappointed to find out that it's based on the current, at that time, and pretty awful movie, Jaws the Revenge. Most of the gameplay is a type of side-scroller where you dive and shoot at manta rays, small sharks, and crabs in order to gain enough points to level up to become stronger to fight Jaws. It's simple gameplay, but if you're looking to pick up a game and have fun for, the 10 or 15 minutes it's going to take you to beat it, there are plenty worse games on the NES that you can play. So, is Jaws the Revenge movie any good? Simple answer is no. Is the Jaws the Revenge game any good? Well, based on film accuracy, fun gameplay, and simple learning curve, I'm going to say yes. Yes, it is. Now, I would be doing a disservice to Jaws on the NES if I didn't mention the recent release of Jaws Retro Edition on the PS5 and Switch, which fleshes out the gameplay and adds more missions and things to do and collect. I haven't spent as much time with this game as I want to at this point. I'll beat it eventually. Well, let's go from modern to retro games, which of course means I'm talking about board games.
And now for stormy waters and Jaws. Try to fish out what's in the jaws of the shark without removing the wrong piece, or the jaws will get you.
First released in 1975 by Ideal, this game is a masterpiece of vintage plastic. It was a skilled action game where you used a gaff hook to pull debris out of a shark's mouth. Some of the debris includes a tire, a skull, an anchor, a baseball glove, and a boot. If you touched the mouth wrong or the bottom jaws got too light, the rubber bands would snap the jaws shut, signaling the end of the game. The box packaging, in my opinion, is again excellent with colors that really pop. I especially like the red and blue contrast and the large picture of the movie poster. Classic and instantly recognizable. Truthfully, this game really isn't that rare or hard to find. The trick is to get one that's complete. Complete examples of this game with box and instructions also go for big money on the secondary market. Now, something I found out while writing the script for this episode was that this game was re-released under a different name. In 2009, Ideal released this game under the name Sharky's Diner, as Ideal didn't have the Jaws licensing rights anymore. And staying on the path of re-releases, Nika re-released the game of Jaws in 2025 for the movie's 50th anniversary. The 15-inch Nika shark has updated sculpting and paint applications, but works essentially the same way with players fishing items out of the shark's mouth before it closes. You may note that I'm just showing stock photos of the game when I have one here. The simple fact for that is my pre-order took so long for this game to come here up in Canada. It's one of the newest things in my collection. I prefer to keep it sealed for now. Sticking with games, the final one that I'll be speaking about is the Jaws game released by Ravensburger. This game was released in June of 2019 and is for 1 to 4 players. Each player gets to be a character choosing from Brody, Quint, Hooper, and the shark. The player playing the shark wins if he eats 9 swimmers, and the players playing as the humans win if they attach 2 barrels to Bruce. The game is a strategy game that, honestly, I've never played because I have no friends. Finally, let's look at some small-scale stuff. Hot Wheels has been active with the Jaws license in the past, making a few different offerings. They are a 1975 Chevy Blazer custom driven by Chief Brody in the movie, with Amity Police written on the sides. This was released in 2023 as part of Hot Wheels' Real Riders line and is a nice representation of the movie vehicle. It has clean paint and nicely applied decals on the doors. The packaging itself is clean, if not on the simple side, and definitely stands out on the shelf. As part of their character car series, Hot Wheels released this Jaws diecast car in approximately 2022. I don't have much to say about this other than it's probably the best representation of what a shark car hybrid would look like if you use some sort of black magic to make such a thing. Sticking with small representations of movie vehicles, there is a Hot Wheels 50th anniversary set featuring the Orca and the Shark. This particular collectible was a San Diego Comic-Con 2025 exclusive, and it sold out online so fast I was unable to get one. So of course, the secondary market for these is insane, with prices approximately 4 to 5 times of what the retail actually was. Not to be outdone by Hot Wheels, Matchbox has their own offerings for Jaws fans. In 1997, as part of their Star Car collection, Matchbox released an Amity Police boat and a small little shark. This is something that I personally don't have in my collection, but if I do find one in the wild, I'm definitely going to get it. The same can be said for the other vehicle made by Matchbox. In 1999, Matchbox released the Star Cars Bus Jaws Edition. For those of you interested, there are also buses for Animal House, Austin Powers, Bewitched, and I Dream of Jeannie. Again, something I don't have in my collection, but in the interest of being complete on the subject of die-cast vehicles based on the movie Jaws, I thought I'd at least let you know these exist. A bit of trivia for you. As per the American Film Institute, Jaws is the second scariest movie of all time, only placing behind Psycho. So, what do you do for the second scariest movie of all time? Well, you make a Fisher-Price Little People set. Released in April of 2025, you can reenact the horror, the gore, and suspense of my favorite man-eating shark movie and be adorable while you do it. The figures themselves have 0 points of articulation, but are sculpted and painted in a way that makes them instantly recognizable to their movie doppelgangers. The packaging itself is very nice, with a large window in the front showing the figures, with Quint himself being eaten. The artwork on the back is quite nice, showing our heroes, and what I can only assume is the best scene in the movie is when Quint gives the USS Indianapolis speech. Okay, let's talk briefly about the Jaws Lego set, as it has an interesting history. The Jaws Lego set was a fan submission to the Lego Ideas website by an Irish Jaws fan named Johnny Campbell. For those of you unfamiliar, the Lego Ideas website allows anyone over the age of 13 to submit ideas for new Lego sets. Lego Ideas members can vote on the sets they're interested in, and sets must garner a minimum of 10,000 votes before they're considered for production. The Jaws set, which had to be submitted twice before it was finally accepted by Lego, got 10,000 votes both times it was submitted. It finally was selected for production in 2022, and I'm happy to say I was one of the 10,000 voters that got this set made. The set number 21350 finally hit shelves in August of 2024 and features Lego versions of Brody, Quint, Hooper, Bruce, and the Orca. It consisted of 1,497 pieces and was a labor of love for me to put together. It took me about 6 hours to do and displays beautifully in my collection room. So, there we have it. Hopefully my enthusiasm for Jaws is shown through in this video. This is in no way a complete list of all Jaws collectibles, just mostly what I have in my collection right now. Is there a Jaws item that I should have that I didn't cover in this video? Did you have the ideal game as a kid? Do you own any of the high-end collectibles from companies such as Shark City Ozark, Cinema Cat, or Sideshow? Are they worth it in your opinion? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you on the next episode of
Retro Roy Talks Toys.